I am. Okay, looks like we're live. So
All right.
let's go ahead and get started. I'm a little nervous because
Nervous?
I don't know why. I'm here in my office by myself talking to my webcam, talking to you, but I know there's all other people that might be watching at any point in time. So
Well, now you need some new background stuff. These files, the
you
files
know,
gotta
I,
go, girl.
why you don't like my Terminator thing? I was going to
Yeah,
put this.
dude, get just a bunch of Terminator figurines. You
I
know
have
those.
only one Terminator figurine. I should just get a picture of a bunch of them.
You should
I
you should collect some like '90s Terminator 2 toys. Like,
Yeah, like I said, I only one toy, and it was something that my brother gave to me. I almost put up a background of the Sandman, from Audible,
uh-huh.
but I decided not to.
Oh,
I didn't know if I'd get in trouble.
you're not gonna get in trouble.
Oh, copyright people are weird.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I
Just
wonder if I could
pictures.
change it now,
Like,
midstream. Have you ever done anything like that?
can you imagine how much of a hassle it would be if YouTube had to regulate what brands or what pictures are in people's backgrounds in their
Right?
videos? Like, I don't think that's. I think if they had to do that, they would close their doors. Like
Well,
that's such a unreasonable undertaking,
yeah.
reasonable request, and
Do you think I'd be able to change it while we're talking? Have you ever done something like that?
change your background. Oh,
Like,
you're talking about instead of Terminator here.
I thought that's what you were talking about. Oh,
No.
you were talking about that.
Yes.
I
Yes.
misunderstood you. Okay.
Figurines.
The
Terminator
figurines,
2
yeah.
action figures. Just make a battle scene out of them and
Yeah,
put them right there where the files are and put the files somewhere else, like
I
in a
know.
fire.
It's not the most exciting. It's not the most exciting background, I know. I can't help it. I'm unoriginal, okay? This is just my junk back there. I'll put up my Terminator, maybe my Spawn figurine.
Oh yeah, here, there you go.
I have a Spawn one.
A Spawn one would be
Todd
fantastic.
McFarlane. They're both Todd McFarlane.
Oh, there's Todd McFarlane Terminator figures?
Terminator 2. Terminator 2, I
Really?
mean.
I didn't know
Mhm.
that. I didn't.
Yeah.
That's great. He makes the best. He makes the best
Oh, it's
action figures.
awesome. It's the one where he is got the rifle or whatever
Mhm.
that thing is, and the pistol in his hand, and his face is all jacked up. You know the scene where he's kind of going around, creeping around, waiting for the T-1000.
Oh,
It's that
then
scene.
I guess it would be a shotgun.
Yeah, it's that thing where he
Like
put
a
the
one-handed
big,
shotgun, like a pistol grip shotgun?
something like that, but it's not your typical. They use that big bullet. It's that gun that shot that big bullet at the very end that destroyed the T-1000.
Oh,
That
that's
gun.
the grenade launcher.
But it's shaped like a gun. It's shaped like a shotgun.
But it's the one that he like it's like an explosive. It's a grenade, right?
Yeah, because he shot it into the. I wish you were a shotgun. Someone says they wish they were a hot dog and they wish they were a shotgun.
I think those two things are incompatible.
A little bit, just a little bit.
I think you're
Okay.
gonna have to pick one of those two.
All right. So, the
All right.
Sandman.
Sandman.
I was like totally down to the wire on this, Jeff.
Mm.
I just finished it a little more than an hour ago, and I had to listen to the last 40 some minutes without the aid of that comic that I was
Mhm.
telling you about.
Right.
It,
So
it
I
really,
haven't been watching. I haven't been listening with the comic. I honestly have not had time to take notes while listening, but I too finished listening to it maybe an hour and a half ago.
you were like me.
Yeah. But it was like all I had for today was that last chapter.
Same. Okay.
Yeah. And it
So
was actually one of the better ones,
you,
and I thought,
that's what you thought?
yeah, I really liked that one a lot.
I honestly I don't feel like I know. Well, I knew that was going to happen. I don't feel like this happened the other day when I was talking to the critical drinker. Of course, this loud ass notification tone goes off.
You just gotta turn it off. You gotta
I
airplane
always
mode your shit.
forget. I always
You
forget.
gotta
All right, I'm going to
airplane.
turn it down. I always feel like I'm going to miss something urgent if I turn everything down.
I
That's the
know.
problem. Especially, some sort of emergency comes up. Okay, I think I've got everything turned down. So Gene hasn't even started yet. Well, I just started a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I saw he shot dog hot gun. Okay, Ahmed.
Yeah, so I don't know how I didn't realize this until I was about halfway through listening to Sandman.
Okay.
But Dirk Maggs, the guy who I knew it was Dirk Maggs who directed Sandman, he also did almost all of Neil Gaiman's other BBC audio dramas.
I noticed there was one other audio drama on Audible. So how many more were there?
A lot. 1 second.
Wow.
Yeah, let me
Audio
see.
dramas of
You can share my screen if you want to.
okay.
But let me know
Oh,
when it's
are you
being
on
shared.
Audible? You
I'm on
are on
Audible.
Audible.
Yeah. Okay, so Sandman, obviously that's what we just listened to. Here's Neverwhere, but this is just the narrated by Neil Gaiman version. Then there is
Okay.
the BBC version, and this is the first audio
That's the one
drama
I saw.
I've ever listened to as an adult with what I would consider an approximation of my now mind. This
Yeah, James
I
McAvoy's
remember
in that too.
this was maybe a decade. No, not quite a decade. It was my freshman year in college when I
2013.
listened to this. Wow.
That's the release date.
Release date was 2013. Maybe
Well,
on Audible.
Yeah,
Maybe
on
on Audible. I know it was either my freshman or sophomore year of college, so it couldn't have been later than 2007, 2008
Okay.
that I actually did listen to it. So it must have only been published on Audible September of 2013. But back then, I didn't know who any of these actors were except for Christopher Lee. Back then, none of these people were like gigantic movie stars. But James McAvoy, Natalie Dormer, Benedict Cumberbatch,
Yeah, Cumberbatch.
are all in this, and this was such a fantastic audio drama. And I remember when I listened to it, it was such a novelty. I hadn't listened to anything like it. I mean, besides old-timey radio dramas, but even those I'd never actually sat down and listened to. And this was long before I started my voice acting career or even thought about doing audiobooks. This was before I even really listened to audiobooks. I listened to this thing.
Audio drama stuff.
And it was for a college class. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, it was for an
assignment. Yeah. But it was absolutely fantastic. And I didn't realize it's the same crew. You know, it's James McAvoy with Dirk Maggs and Neil Gaiman, you know, and I don't think I heard Cumberbatch in this one or Natalie Dormer, but lots of really big stars. I watched the video you released earlier. You can go ahead and unshare my. Wait, hold on. I can actually
the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I did see your behind the scenes stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't realize that was Andy Serkis playing as that crow.
Well, neither did I. I knew that he was in there because I'd seen his name in the credits, but he's so talented with his voice that I had no clue that was him. But also I didn't know that Taron Egerton was Constantine.
Yeah.
Or as they call it, Constantine.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they changed or why they messed with the pronunciation of his voice.
Well, is that how Brits say the name?
I don't think so.
I'd never heard it that way.
I have never.
Gaiman, yeah. Simon, I also thought it was pronounced Gaiman too, and so it's no. You thought it was pronounced Gaiman. I know.
I don't know.
Been saying I used to say Gaiman.
I still say Gaiman. I don't know.
It's actually Gaiman. So you were right, Simon, but it's been really hard for me to snap out of wanting to call him Gaiman. So if I called him Gaiman, I was mistaken.
Yeah, I apologize for any of my Gaiman because they will happen. Unfortunately, it's just a little brain hiccup that I have.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I see the word guy when I see the first part of his name. I don't know.
So I listened to this one, This is American
Oh,
Gods.
American Gods. Yeah, they have a
Is there
show
another
about
one?
that, don't they?
Yeah. Yep. And this is a full audio drama. Now, I don't know if this is the same director. It doesn't seem like it would be. Let's see. It just didn't sound the same. It doesn't sound like the same type of production. The voice direction isn't as good either. And I don't see Dirk Maggs'
Oh,
name on here anywhere.
okay. And maybe
So
he
I think
didn't.
I think yeah, this was one I didn't really enjoy. This is one I wish that I had listened to just the Neil Gaiman narration. Hold on.
Hi Amsterdam from the US.
Yeah. Well,
Gregory says Gregory from Amsterdam says hi.
hello.
Someone said also that Gaiman did a lot of work with Terry Pratchett on his books.
Yes, and so I started listening to another Neil Gaiman Dirk Maggs production, which was also Terry Pratchett, and that was The Good Omen or The Good Omens. Hold on, let me find it. It's in here.
How many things do you have in your library, Jeff?
I have Stardust now. I grabbed Stardust. I haven't listened to it.
Is
Let's
that a
see
Neil?
who's in this one.
That
This
is
is also
also
Neil
Neil
Gaiman. This
Gaiman.
is
That's
BBC,
right.
and this one would probably be yes. This one's Dirk Maggs.
So they go way back.
Yeah, they
Wait,
go
this is
way back.
also a this is
Who's this?
also multicast then.
Yep. I don't
Interesting.
recognize these actors. Is that Natalie Portman though? She looks like her, but I don't think it is. Oh no, I don't think that's her.
I don't well, it says full cast, but I would think if it was Natalie Portman, they would have her name,
Yeah,
one of the first names.
yeah. Especially released in 2017. Okay, so here's the one that I've been listening to today. Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, Good Omens.
Is that a show as well?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's what I thought. Man, he is everywhere, this guy. He's
Um,
so freaking talented.
yeah. Peter Serafinowicz is in this one. This is the last Tick. I don't know if you ever watched The Tick, but the latest reboot of The Tick
You
was.
know what? Is this the guy that they're talking about? Wait a second, I'm getting confused. Okay, so did you know that they're going to make the Sandman into a Netflix show?
Oh, really?
Yes. And
Well,
apparently they've cast somebody as Morpheus, but I can't remember the guy's name. And I didn't know if it was that guy or somebody else.
huh?
So
That'll
I'm
be
curious
amazing.
to see. Well, I heard Neil's going to have his hand in it, so it will probably end up okay. But I had a little bit of a beef with the audio production because, no, not the production itself. The production was amazing. The voice acting was phenomenal. I don't think anybody did a bad job,
Hmm.
personally. But some of the episodes, honestly, at least two of the episodes that I can think of felt like filler to me.
Hmm.
And one of them was the one about the cats,
Okay.
and the other was the one about Element Girl. And then the very last one, the one that you really liked, that one felt like a little bit of filler, but maybe not because it came back around to William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So I just didn't get the point of some of those. What I I didn't like. It seemed to me like there was a theme throughout all of the ones before that. You know, Death gets captured. He has to spend his time finding his missing whatever those, the pouch and the amulet and the helmet thing that he wore. And so that sort of it's like an overarching type of theme that goes throughout the first several books and throughout. And then all of a sudden you've got this one about cats. You've got
right.
this one about Element Girl, and I didn't get what was the point of that.
Well, okay. So first of all, we are you done screen sharing me?
Oh yeah. Oh, do you want me to turn it off now?
Yeah, yeah.
I kept it back up. Okay, I'll remove it. Okay, there we go. Back
All
up.
right. So first of all, I didn't realize it would be an anthology from the get-go.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
maybe perhaps, knowing that it's dream themed, I should have maybe guessed that earlier than I did. But I found myself really scratching my head 3 or 4 hours in, going, where did these characters go?
Yeah, they just went
How do these
away.
things connect in the plot?
Right.
Until and it was then that I would realize, oh, this is just a collection of stories about this character that will, eventually come together as like a mosaic of experience for, Morpheus, right?
Right.
Because Morpheus is the one character that is constant throughout.
Throughout, exactly, yeah.
One thing that I found and one thing that I think threw me off, um, was that he was sort of introduced not as if he was the main character that we're following. He comes in maybe like 30 minutes into the thing, and he's like kind of a mystery at that point, and then it's kind of about people discovering him or something. It was really, again,
Um,
even after listening from the beginning, again, I'm
they were
still foggy on the details of
they
the
were
full
trying to
story.
summon him, and as far as the audio length it takes for him to show up, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in the comic, it's just a few pages,
Mm-hmm.
but the way they did the audio, he shows up because they're trying to summon death, apparently, and then there he is, but you only know of him, they're keeping him prisoner for a
Right.
good long while before you actually see him, which is when he breaks free.
Right.
Um, but it was a little bit, so I'm glad I had the comic to go by, because honestly, I feel like the comic in conjunction with the audio was the perfect combination of ways to absorb this material, because it actually helped me understand the characters and cement them in my head. I think if I was just looking at the comic, because the comic was like that too,
Mm-hmm.
if you were only looking through the comic and you weren't really listening to the audio and it was kind of sinking in the world and the voices and the sounds and all that, it would be it would feel a little bit disjointed, I think, because in the comic they did do that jumping to a
Mm-hmm.
person here, and then the next panel would be another person, and then and you're like, whoa, 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 you're just inundated with all these different characters and what's going on with them. Then they show up again, and you're like, well, who is this person now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that person that fell into a coma and never woke up.
Right. And then
Uh,
it just eventually occurred to me that, oh, this is not a linear story. This is something that's being patched together. And
jumped all over.
I wish I had been somehow clued into that from the get-go, so I wouldn't have even bothered trying to follow,
Right, a
like,
storyline, yeah,
yeah, yeah, so that I could have just experienced these characters and let them come and go. Um,
right.
but that being said, now that I understand the intent of how they put it together, I want to listen again. I want to go back and see what I missed. See what things that um, I missed out on because I was in this sort of cloud of confusion over, like, what happened to this guy and why are things okay, no, no, don't even think about rules. Don't even think about any of that stuff. These are a series of allegories,
Yeah,
and I thought they were very effective, and I should have known better again, because this is kind of the way Neil Gaiman writes his stories. He's got that sort of disjointed narrative often, and he often has that sort of blurry line between the world of hallucination, fantasy, and the world of real life. So
yeah,
um, it should have been something that I expected from the get go, but I think because of the production, because they made Morpheus's character so prominent in the marketing, in the imagery and everything, that I expected some kind of linear story, like some kind of comic book epic of some kind.
yeah, I had no idea as well,
Mhm.
um, but maybe looking through the comic as I was listening until right at the very end, like I said, the last one I didn't because I had no time, but I that really it really grounded me in the world and what was going on. And I could see that there was a constant theme, even though each one took place at a different time. Several of those volumes are kind of linear from the
Yeah.
time he's captured till the time he gets all of his stuff back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some other stuff thrown here, like a doll's house. I think that was the name of because that was comprised of separate. The doll's house one is the one where the girl is the vortex.
Right. With
And
Barbie.
that one was actually several multiple parters in the
Right.
books.
Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
that would happen. But I think by the time that came about, I was onto it. I was like, okay.
You got it then. Kind of
Yeah.
like, The Witcher. When The Witcher came out, that thing jumped back and forth. Did you ever watch The Witcher?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Well, I tried. I couldn't. I didn't. It felt so generic fantasy to me that I tuned out. I couldn't.
Well, it
Yeah.
has Henry Cavill, so I tuned in, and plus I didn't know anything about The Witcher, but it did that as well. It was a bunch of jumping back and forth, and I did not realize what the heck was going on
Mm-hmm.
until now. If I would go back and watch it, I would get it. So
Right.
now that you understand the formula for how they did things, it probably would be easier, or maybe more, I don't know if more enjoyable is the right word. But I do think that you should. I'm going to put the link to the comics up so that if anybody wants to go check it out. Oh, hold on. I need to go all the way back to the very first one. I was on. Anyway, so like I told you, I'm going to put it up here in the chat. Like I told you, because I know how Neil feels about pirating, I didn't feel any guilt in reading the online. I actually was going to buy it, but I didn't realize. I thought it was one whole book, but it was like a multiple volumes. I'm like, oh, I don't have time to buy all. It's not going to get to me in time. And so I went looking, and I found that right there, and it has all of the episodes included in the audio. But they only did the first 20 volumes, the first 20 issues.
Okay.
There are more. I heard there was a group on Facebook that I went to and saw them doing. They had a discussion about it, and someone mentioned that there was talk about a Sandman 2, I guess, to finish up, because there are so many issues. There were 70 something, 75 maybe.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot. So I
Yeah.
know how.
The one character, and here's the thing, I actually did lose track of a few of these stories. I don't know how. I'm
That's
like
not surprising.
up and about doing things and listening
Yeah.
at the same time. Sometimes things drop in and out. But one thing that I wish that I had paid better attention to was the actual guy who was trying to be a superhero, calling himself Sandman. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah, that guy.
I didn't get the conclusion of that story.
Well, he had died,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in this weird dream type world, and he had basically sucked his still living pregnant wife into the world with him. And it was something. Who caused all that? It was those two Glob and something, Glob and Blob or something like that. You remember them? They were the ones that had because he had been captured and he had been held prisoner for so long, that kind of opened the way for these other beings or whatever to come into the natural world and create this havoc that they were creating. And that was what was happening with that other Sandman guy. They
Okay.
had created this weird nether dream type world
Okay.
because Dream was gone, and
Right.
they were free to cause trouble, which is oh, sorry, I should warn you, Tim, there are going to be spoilers.
It's Schattinger.
Yeah,
007.
Schattenjäger. Okay,
Schattenjäger.
Schattenjäger. He
Yeah.
calls himself Schattenjäger, and that
Gotcha.
directly ties back to Gabriel Knight, the game. I played that on election night when I did my first live stream.
Mm.
Gabriel Knight is a Schattenjäger, which means shadow hunter. And
Okay.
so Timothy loves that word. So that's he's Schattenjäger 007 because he's Timothy Dalton.
Gotcha.
Not
Or
the Timothy Dalton.
you just doxed your own brother in a live stream. Good
Well,
work.
his name is right there on his own book, so I didn't really dox him.
Yeah, so okay, so let's talk about other TV series that have just recently come out, Neil Gaiman series, right? So we got um American Gods and
Yes.
Good Omens, right?
Yeah.
Um Good Omens was pretty good.
I haven't seen any of those.
I didn't watch the last episode. I just didn't get to it. Um then there was American Gods, which the first season is incredible. It's super good.
Uh-huh.
And for reasons I can't understand, the second season didn't pull me in so much. Um it kind of lost a little bit of its style, maybe? Got
Or
kind of
maybe
calmed
it had
down.
worn off.
Maybe,
It
but
wasn't fresh.
if anyone was going to take care of Sandman, I think it should probably be that guy, the guy who did American Gods the first season. I think first maybe I heard that the second season he wasn't so involved. But have you ever seen a show called Hannibal?
I have seen a few episodes of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing. I heard it's really good.
It's pretty incredible, and he's the same guy who did the first season of American Gods. I don't, and again,
Okay.
I haven't done my research on who did season two. He may have had more or less to do with it. I'm not sure, but it didn't feel quite as right. But Hannibal is just so stylized, and in the
Yeah.
same way that American Gods is so stylized, the styles are very different, but the way in which they're incorporated feels very much the same. You know, very artistic and
Right. I was going to say artistic. That's what
yeah,
I felt about Hannibal, the
right.
little that I saw of it.
Yeah, it's just brilliantly composed, and it needs that kind of flourish. You know, it needs someone who knows how to tell a story
Yeah.
um, that isn't linear, that can bring in that dream feel. You know, it's really hard to replicate how it really feels to dream on film, but very, very rarely I think it happens, and I think that he's got the talent to do it.
Well, I think with Neil being involved in the production to some extent, I think his oversight will help keep it on the right track.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be pretty well involved in it, as far the Sandman stuff.
Hmm.
So I was kind of hoping that they would stick to the original cast, the voice cast.
Yeah, I mean they would be perfect,
I
right?
think they would be because okay, so the girl who played Death, I think she could pull her off. Kat
I
Dennings, you
wasn't,
don't
I
think?
was, I wasn't, I wasn't so into that.
Well,
I mean, I
you
got
mean
what they were going for. It just didn't land for me for some reason. Her performance was maybe this much too wooden. I think I'm just being nitpicky, honestly, but
well,
it didn't ring true to me.
see, someone made a comment on the video that I put up earlier, way earlier today, about how they did. I'm paraphrasing something about how they didn't think that they could really get into her whiny voice as the character of Death, and she does have kind of like a really particular shrill sharpness to her voice.
That's the thing. I get what I think that the tone of her voice was perfect. I thought that the concept of the character was perfect.
Hmm.
It's a great idea. I think that the performance just fell slightly short of making it convincing.
Yeah, I guess it didn't bother me too much as far as that goes. I was more struck by the differences between their two personalities. So she's deaf, and she was she's quirky and lighthearted and kind of she has these little quips and she's just real kind of nonchalant about everything.
Hmm.
And he's Dream, and he's all ominous and dark and
Yeah,
foreboding
and
and
dramatic.
serious. And you would think
Yeah,
that it would be the opposite, right? Because you would think Dream would
right.
be more
But
because
that's that's
Dream,
that's our perception of them, though. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
to
yeah,
us, dreams are silly, but to the dreams, from the perspective of the dreams, this is them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So really, what we're getting is like a dramatic representation You know, like I think dreams would take themselves seriously in the way that
Yeah,
like theater directors, you
right.
know,
Yeah,
like
that's a good way.
people
That's
in
nice.
acting, people in theater take themselves so seriously, but death is like routine,
Yeah, she's just used to it. Just
you
used to
know.
it. It's just it is what it is, and
Yeah.
this is just how it has to be. And oh, we're gonna go stop by this place right now because this person screwed in a light bulb and fell off the ladder. Just it was that kind of thing that was happening.
Simon Smith
So
is asking
someone
from,
says, "Oh, were you going to read? Did you see their
yeah. Well,
question?"
yeah, you want to just pop it up on the
Yeah. So which one? The first one?
Simon Smith. Well, it looks
I'll
like
put
we
the
need to.
first one up.
Okay. How important is it to play to stereotypes and norms in casting audiobooks? And then he's got another question that's
Yeah.
is it
Post this one
connected?
up. I'll show it. Yeah.
I'm wondering if the current push for diversity in filmed media has affected the audiobook world, or if you fear it might. Yeah, I mean, of course, I fear it might. And it's
Well,
kind of depressing. It's depressing from an independent producer's point of view, because now it's like, okay, I have to go out of my way to like try and make sure people aren't offended by the skin color of an actor,
of the person who's doing a voice.
of the person who's doing a voice.
Right. It makes no
Okay,
sense.
so I can't give that opportunity to that person because they're not the right color. I thought that we were actors. I thought that we
Yeah.
were supposed to play people that we are not. That's the whole point. Being an actor is being able to get as many of those jobs as you possibly can. And I don't want to. I mean, if I happen to hire somebody who has more of those traits, yeah, sure, great. If they're readily available and I can make it happen easy, but I don't want to delay productions by too long, or again, not give opportunity to someone in my troupe, like go out of my way to hire someone outside the troupe simply to cater to someone's
Yeah.
racial sensibilities about a character and a piece of fiction. Like, why, I like my actors, and sometimes they fit things, sometimes they don't, and I don't ever really think about what color they are when I'm trying to
No.
get a good character out of them,
Right.
if I'm thinking about their strengths as an actor. I mean, that's like a great benefit of being a voice actor, is not having to be on screen and being able to use that to your advantage to make an even better performance, and even, like to give yourself a little bit more room to explore people of different backgrounds who, you wouldn't have the opportunity to in theater. I mean, why is it that it has to be a bad thing that you're representing somebody of a different culture? That's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
That's how we become better actors, is by, and that's how we create empathy between cultures, is saying, okay, I'm going to pretend to be you right now. And maybe that starts some discourse,
Yeah,
maybe that
exactly.
maybe that starts some cross-cultural talk about, like, who we are.
Well, that's a good point
Like,
because some people see that as, the catchphrase going around nowadays, cultural appropriation or
yeah.
appropriation. And I didn't think about it the way that you mentioned, but now that you say it, that is a good point. I think it does help to foster understanding and empathy and appreciation for these other things. Now, this sort of ties in a little bit to something that I read because I looked up some reviews for Sandman,
Oh, okay.
and one one review that I was reading through and came upon this complaint that they had, which is basically that it wasn't PC enough because they showed all these bad things that were happening to marginalized groups like women and LGBT or whatever. And I'm like, what? Why should they have toned that down? That was part of the story. Then I watched that thing last night, and I got to the point where I said, well, hold on, I'm going to write this note down, because it got to the point where they were talking with the actor who played Desire, the
Mhm.
androgynous
Mhm.
character. And it was mentioned that this book actually at the time that it came out was very appreciated by those groups, you
Yeah,
know, LGBT marginalized groups,
right.
because they had a very significant presence, and it wasn't necessarily that they were being insulted or put down. They were just part of the story, and it sort of kind of gave voice to them, and that was appreciated. So it's like, I was thinking, why would you want to tone stuff like that down? And I didn't feel like, honestly, everybody in there was fair game as far as mistreatment. Anybody was mistreated.
Okay, so I mean that kind of makes me want to talk about that one, the Muse one, right?
The Muse,
Uh,
yeah. Calliope?
so yeah, Calliope. Okay, so that was a pretty obviously it's a disturbing story. And it was, and like you said, it was back 30 years ago, right? When the comic came out.
89 was when they first came out, yeah.
So, I get it. It's like they're they're talking about, what the links that some people go to get what they want, and
Right.
then like their willingness to dehumanize other people. And here's the thing, I can see anyone getting offended by that content, right? It's a woman basically being raped.
No, she
Um,
was. It
like
she was
like
for years.
yeah, for years and years and years and
Hmm.
years and years, right? So clearly that's something to get offended about. And, I'm sure that any feminist could come out with innumerable arguments as to why that's a terrible, unfeminist thing. But that's the point, right? Like, why you have to show those things. You have to show them in a negative light. You have, in order to portray a racist person on a piece of media, or a sexist person or a rapist, they have to do the raping and the racism and
Right, right,
all that.
yeah.
They have to do
Yeah.
that on screen. So what what are you complaining? Why is it problematic to discuss these things? That's basically what's happening. It's like they're even saying these types of people are bad, but you can't portray them in order to do that?
Well, it's almost like the complaints put across this perception, or to me it's like they're complaining about it almost as if the material was being glorified when that was not the case. It was very clearly presented as something bad and awful.
That's what that's why there are bad guys who do bad
Right,
things
right,
in stories, so that we don't like them,
right. You're not supposed to,
right?
and just showing them doesn't mean you are holding them up in any sort of esteem. You're
Yeah.
just showing the bad that they do, and
Yeah.
then fortunately they get what's coming to them. And it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. But speaking of that, what was the one story that disturbed you the most? Because I there was one I came across, and I was at the time I was like, oh, that's actually really gross and troublesome. But now I can't remember which one it was. As
Um,
far as just what the characters were doing. Not that I was offended, because nothing in there offended me at
well,
all.
I would say the Calliope one was the one that I disliked the most.
Yeah.
And it was because
Well, I didn't expect that guy to do that. When he came and
he
took
didn't he
her,
didn't come off as that kind of guy.
he put his coat around her. I mean, okay, you don't see that. You don't see that, but in the comic, when he goes and gets
Well,
her,
but I think it mentioned something about it.
okay, yeah, he covered her up with his coat, and he's like taking her home, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, he's gonna take care of her. What? No, first thing he does is rape her. I was like, oh, okay, well, this is
I think
where
maybe I
his
think
mind
maybe
is.
it could be a commentary on like male feminists or something, that
Oh,
like,
you really
okay, they're
think
gonna
so?
act like they're, and he even calls himself a feminist. You remember during his interviews, he was like, "Oh well,
Oh, yeah, that's
I
right.
consider
He
myself
does.
a,
I
a feminist."
forgot about that.
And this is after he's been raping her for years.
That's
I
funny.
think
I
I think
forgot
maybe
about.
that's what the story's about, like
Hi,
kind of
William.
commenting on those kinds of people who like are wolves in sheep's clothing, who like
Right.
pose, like the people. I don't know. It's kind of like something you got to look out for, like dudes who are too feminist. It's like, okay, what's this game here?
What are you really up to
What are
behind the
you
scenes
really,
while you're pretending to be all pro women?
right. I mean, maybe that's what that story was about. The only reason that I didn't like it, though, it wasn't it's nothing to do with execution or anything like that. I think I'm just kind of tired of that kind of story. I
Yeah.
feel like that's around a lot. Like,
It is, but
and
this was back then, like you say. I don't think that at the time that was done, it was with any sort of agenda
right,
push, like what happens now, where you see
yeah,
certain themes all over the place. And it's like, all right, yeah,
right,
you know,
yeah. So given that it was 30 years ago, it's not like I'm holding anything against it. It's
yeah.
just the one that I enjoyed the least, for
What was
sure.
your favorite one?
Um,
Storyline, which may have comprised multiple episodes. Your favorite storyline?
Probably the Constantine one.
And
That
that
one
was
was,
just one episode too.
yeah. I I don't know. I think it was just the combination of those two actors being together. I don't think it had much to do with what was happening in the story. And to be perfectly honest, very there wasn't much of this experience for me that was story based. That was what I enjoyed about it. I enjoyed all these great actors hamming it up.
Mm,
I enjoyed the the sets that were constructed with sound. I thought they
yeah,
did a great job
yeah.
of creating atmosphere, creating with the ambient sounds and things going on, and they would illustrate with sound little movements and stuff that were, gosh,
Moving in a
those little,
chair,
yeah, just,
turning in a chair.
yeah,
Yeah,
just those little creaks. It just pops into your brain. The imagery
yeah,
just boom.
yeah.
And you can, especially with the actors making the sounds, like acting like they're there. Um, I know there was a lot of on location production or recording of
Really?
performances for this. Yeah, and when I say on location, obviously you can't see where they are, but what they do is they say, okay, this scene is in this kind of place. What is a similar place that we can go to and get that ambience and get that same reverb from it? They go
Oh,
with an actual
interesting.
boom mic that you would take to a film shoot,
Right.
and then they actually record the actors acting it out there.
Oh, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Where did you hear this? Is there a video about this? I would love to watch it. That would
So
be
I
cool.
so I didn't see it for Sandman specifically. I actually learned about it from the late rest in peace Jeff. Oh shit, I'm sorry. He did Lock and Key.
Okay.
Lock and Key in on Audible. Uh, I'm very embarrassed for not remembering his name because I know him personally. Um, do 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 do. Oh, come on, it's not actually on.
So
I'm a little disappointed. It's not his his credit's not on here. His directing credit.
so you don't know if they really did this for Sandman, or you're just
No, I
you,
do know because I listened all the way through the credits at the end, and it said on location
oh, see, I stopped a
sound
few
engineer
minutes.
somewhere. Yeah.
I stopped like I think I got to the part where they were listing the side characters that had shown up, and I stopped it because I had just arrived home because I was driving home, and I stopped it, and then I was like I had to go and get set up and get ready and everything. So oh,
I'm sorry.
Ahmed
Real,
says Jeff Ellis.
real quick. I'm sorry. Bob Dufries. Sorry, Bob
Oh
Dufries.
no,
He's Bob the
Ahmed.
Builder. He's Bob the Builder.
Oh yeah, him.
Yeah, he directed Lock and Key, and
Oh,
he like
okay.
I actually I was in a conference with him for like a couple
That's
hours
way off from Jeff.
where he was talking about yeah, I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sorry. Oh, so
He's the
stupid.
guy that Justin met.
Yes, yeah. He
Yeah,
Justin went and stayed at his place for a little
that's
while. Yeah,
right.
absolutely. We were
Okay.
talking about working together. Sound booth theater and his
That would have
studio.
been
He's
amazing.
directed a lot of. He's a very talented director of audio dramas, but he just perished of cancer this year. So,
I know, it sucks.
or no, it was. I'm sorry, it was last year. It was
I
last
thought it
year.
was earlier
He-
this year.
Yeah, and then he won the. He won the audio best audio drama
It
that
was
year.
last year he passed?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, because the audio stuff happened earlier this year, and he had passed a few months before that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was, no, that's right. It was this. Yeah, it was this year. It was this year.
You're gaslighting me, Jeff.
I know. I know.
I
I'm
was like, I
sorry.
thought it was earlier. It was like a few months before, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, maybe it was late. Like this whole year has felt like an eternity. So my perception of time for this year is crazy. But um, the sounds of this production, all the voices to me were just amazing. Just the way, especially James McAvoy, it was like a complete eargasm the whole time he was talking. I swear, I was just like, I
Yeah,
love
he knows
his
how to use
voice
that.
so much.
He knows how to use that texture.
I know, it was just so good, and it was just, and he could change his voice. I would have never known it was James McAvoy in some of those scenes. There was also like the way he could also change the tone. I think when he first found out that it was death that the people had initially been wanting to capture, he would just like the way he's like, "What? You want to death?" Just the way he did that part. I don't know. I went back and listened to it again. It was just a couple words, but it was just the way he changed his voice, the way he did it.
Yeah.
But I liked his character because at first I thought he was going to be a completely neutral type of character, just very standoffish with what happens in the world of man. He's just there to do his job, but he did seem to be a character that changed and evolved over time, which I found pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and we get to see different, like, it's not like we watch him change the same way. It's like we get snapshots of him having changed in different spots, or like maybe, I don't know, it's more like we see him as he is now, and then the rest of the narrative is telling us different times throughout history that has changed him to become what he is when we
yeah.
meet him, so
I thought one of the most telling scenes where his vulnerability kind of became pretty apparent was the one where I can't remember the name of the episode, but the one where the guy lived basically forever.
yeah, I was
And
just
they would
thinking that one. I really liked that one. That
that
one might
one
have been another one of my favorites.
when the guy basically put his finger on what was going on with him. He was lonely and he wanted friends. That's
Yeah.
basically what it was, and he got so pissed.
Yeah.
And then he showed up again. The next 100 years. He's like, oh, you can't let your friends down, basically that kind of thing. But someone made a good point actually, which was that when they met each other, oh shoot, no, he was in prison. They met each other every 100 years.
Yeah, it was every 100 years. Okay, what I liked about that one is how it subverted my expectations. Like, it was built up to be a lesson for the immortal guy to learn, but it turns out to be a lesson for Morpheus to learn.
Yeah, I thought that the mortal guy was going to end up wanting to die when his wife and kid died, and he was like, "Please take me, death, just do it." But then, even in the depths of his despair, he was still like, "I still have so much to live for."
Yeah.
And like you said, it was Morpheus was the one who ended up learning a great deal from it.
Yeah.
So
Like he sees, like, the very beginning, the very beginning of the episode, he and his sister witness this dude talking shit about how he's never gonna die,
yeah,
and they think he's smug. They go up to him acting smug, saying, "Oh, okay, you want to see what it's like to live forever?" And it turns out, yeah, it's great.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
right,
fucking awesome, actually.
right.
Like,
Yeah, that did go in a direction I wasn't expecting, and I did not expect the part at the end about what the guy said to him about being lonely and you just want friends. How dare you say that to me?
Yeah.
He got so mad, and he slams out. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I wonder if he's going to show up in the next 100 years. Yep, there he was.
He got fussy.
Well,
But it was so entertaining. It was great.
he had been imprisoned. It was after that. Someone actually in the discussion group that I was mentioning said something about what was it? How could he have shown up for the meeting? Oh, how did he make his 1959 meeting with Hop Gadling? But it wasn't a 1959 meeting, I don't think. He went from the 80s, like 89 to 89. So he showed up in 1989. And by then he'd already been free. unless I'm
I wouldn't.
misremembering.
I wouldn't put much thought into timelines for any kind of comic.
Yeah, I mean, I might be wrong. So I'll meet you again in 2020. I'm sure this pesky Spanish flu won't get in the way of us meeting next time.
We well past the Spanish flu.
Oh yeah, yeah. But my favorite storyline actually, and I enjoyed them all except, like I said, some of them they felt like filler. The cat one was not my favorite, and I did like the one about Element Girl, but I kept thinking, what is the point? Why is this even here? But I think my favorite storyline was the one with the vortex. I like that one because it spans several different episodes. And also, they go to that cereal convention, cereal, Cereal, they were calling it. And at first, I was like, "Oh yeah, it is a cereal," because they thought it was about cereal makers, but no, it was the other kind of cereal.
Yeah, that was very amusing. I loved that. I loved the guy who was running the thing with the really nerdy voice that I was.
The dweeby guy, yeah.
I was hoping he was making you gag on that one.
Yeah, there were some voices that were really gross, Jeff. I'm not kidding you. And I was like, let's just get past this part.
I can't wait for a time that like we're together in the same public place.
Don't you dare.
And
no, don't.
We actually meet somebody who's got a voice that makes you gag, and you have to do something in order to compensate in this very awkward real life situation.
Exit stage left is what I'll do. It's so stupid too. It's so dumb. But yeah, and it hits me. Sometimes it hits me. Stupid things like if someone talks and they have a really strong nasal thing that happens while they're talking.
Yeah.
You know, like a nasal snort or whatever. And if it happens constantly, that starts to really get to me. Someone talking with too much saliva in their mouth, or like they got a mouthful of braces, that bothers me. She quickly pours coffee in her. That's it. Especially since my shirt says coffee is a must. That would be a perfect solution, to pour coffee in my ears. Ahmed said that.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing. Like I said about American Gods, I really didn't like the audio drama of that one. But listening to Good Omens, I've only listened to the first 20 minutes, and I recognize elements of the story, and I just like the audio drama version better.
Better than the book version, or
the
TV
show. The TV show.
Oh, they only have the TV show and the audio drama then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there's a novel. There must be a novel. Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. But
right, Gaiman.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like there was more substance in the audio drama version.
See, audio dramas aren't really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I've expressed that to you before a few times. So I got this thing. I used a credit on it because I'd seen the trailer and I was like, oh, I'll try it. And then it comes up during the discussion where you suggested that I should listen to it just to kind of develop an ear for that sort of thing with regard to our own productions.
Mm-hmm.
And I did really, really enjoy it. But I think still my preference is just book related, just pure audiobooks. Mm-hmm. So I would be curious if to hear an actual audiobook of this actual thing made into an audiobook instead of an audio drama.
Well, I think one problem with that is it would have to be novelized because it was
written
as a comic book.
It was. And they sort of kind of, so they took the audio drama and to explain the pictures, to explain what's happening because you can't see it. Well, I could see it, but they wrote a lot of exposition to say, so-and-so is walking in the door and they have on a black trench coat. And, he's describing all this because you can't visually see it, which helps a lot. But I felt like that also helped as I was looking at the picture because sometimes I couldn't tell quite what I was looking at because the art, sometimes things weren't very clearly shown in the artwork.
Yeah. So tell me more about experiencing the audio drama with the comic book, and is that something that you would that you would try with a different story?
Probably, because honestly, audio dramas, in my opinion, they're harder to follow as far. So if I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm doing a mindless task, washing the dishes, folding clothes, whatever, and I'm listening to an audiobook, it's easier to stay on track with that as opposed to the actual audio drama, because it's weird, because it's almost like, well, you can't really watch a TV show by listening to it,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. If you're not actually watching it, you can't really necessarily follow everything just by listening to the audio. Things can get lost. Even though there was narrative in this audio drama that explained stuff like that, there was still so much stuff that was happening, these little subtle things, these little voices and noises and little discussions that would go on, that I feel like would be pretty easy to get lost. You kind of like miss stuff if you're not fully focused on it. So I actually was fully focused on what I was listening to by looking at it, and I felt like that immersed me in the story much more, as opposed to just
Mm-hmm.
listening to it. I did not enjoy listening to it on the drive home this afternoon.
Oh, really?
I was missing the fact that I couldn't sit in front of the computer and actually look at it, because that made it so much more, just, it felt like it had more weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Maybe.
so,
Okay, so what? No, I'm not. I would like it if you were to listen to. Well, we're gonna listen to. We're listening to.
our Sound Blue Theater thing, Crinkle,
We're listening to Kringle Down tonight
Crinkle Down, yeah, in just
for
a little while, like an
yeah,
hour.
our Christmas holiday party. I'm so excited
Looking
to.
forward to that,
I
yeah.
really love it, and I want to, now that you've listened to like what is considered the mainstream. I mean, they hype this so hard. The
Yeah,
Sandman, they hype
yeah,
that so hard. So this is the best, pretty much, that the standard of the industry has to offer, in my opinion,
right.
and rightfully so. Like it's good stuff. If I were to, I actually, I'll go ahead and, while it's on my mind, offer one more criticism of the production. Actually, probably the only criticism of the production itself,
Okay.
would be there was not enough. The noise floor was too high for the vocals. I was hearing hissing all the time. I was hearing hissing
Really?
get cut off. I was hearing breaths
I
get cut
did
off.
not notice any of that, but you have more of an ear to notice things like that. Or
Yeah,
maybe it was your maybe your headphones were bad. I just listened to it with my earbuds.
I was listening just on my earbuds. I was hearing that, and
Really?
maybe it's just because my ear is tuned to it. But like I was hearing that a lot. But I'm gonna be honest. That's a tricky problem to deal with. We deal with a
Yeah.
different problem. We get rid of that noise floor, but now we also have a debreather that threatens to cut off consonants now and then. So it's like, y- y- I honestly would prefer to have their problem over our problem, because at least it doesn't like remove content.
Well, I
But
felt like I could hear a little bit of softening of consonants in James McAvoy's stuff sometimes. And it
yeah,
felt like maybe they had used like a noise reduction and it had kind of muffled his
yeah. In general, I think that whatever was done to treat their voices was a little bit too much in some
mm,
ways. Like there was an over compression that I think they were doing in order to aid James McAvoy's voice in sounding so
okay.
sultry. But
Oh, he really was, wasn't he? Holy cow. That was like every time he talked, it was just pure enjoyment.
yeah,
It was so
um,
good.
so good. But they enhance that stuff. I mean, the same
Yeah.
thing that I do with my voice when I'm doing like a deeper voiced character. Like you just up the compression a little bit to make it sound
I
a
was
little
thinking,
a little more deep, and
definitely I
they,
could tell that the voices were heavily treated, because
yeah,
I was
I
like everybody to but to me it sounded pleasing. I was like everybody's voice sounds amazing, just so
mm,
phenomenal. Like you could just catch, like the richness just
yeah.
flowed right into my
No,
eardrums.
you're right. You're right, and that's the truth about that style of production. But for me, I would prefer it to step back just a little
Back
bit,
is the
just
skosh.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing I wish about the production was, I wish that they would. Honestly, I wish they would give things a little bit more space.
How
like
do you mean?
timing wise. I feel like it
I
was
noticed
rushed a
that
little.
too.
It was a little, it felt rushed, and like this is the kind of story, this is like, I don't know, for me, like an audio drama dream production. Like, and that's, I'm no pun intended here. What I'm saying is, like, you are actually trying to illustrate dreams. You're trying, so really it's like a feast for the engineer to just create all these amazing soundscapes and to tell this story with a little bit more of um a, a slow pace, and just kind of let the listener sit in the soundscape a little bit and wander. And
Yeah.
I wish that there was some kind of fun Pink Floyd type of transition between each story, where we're just being treated to some nice music, and like maybe
You
some
feel like it
sound.
flowed from story to story too quickly, or from, see, what I was noticing was
Yeah,
things like sometimes I felt like people would talk too quickly uh, after
talking.
something had happened. I was noticing some timing, things like that.
I didn't notice much of that. More just like they just scrunched things too much in transition from scene to scene.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
that
yeah. To let the moments breathe, your brother
yeah,
said.
I mean, but the thing about this production, and this is something that I really want as a producer, is a project where I can just make it something that someone can listen to and fuck the story. They don't have to even care about the story. They're being carried
The audio
by
experience.
the audio experience, and just
Mhm.
kind of allowing that to take them over, and allowing themselves, it's something that they care to sit and explore in.
Yeah.
And I think that they could have taken a little bit of an opportunity with this particular production to do that. It would have been, I think it would have been appropriate and thematic, and it would have added a bit of weight. That being said, there's probably, that's probably part of the direction as well. Hey, it's a comic book thing. People are expecting a comic book, something like a comic book. So there's got to be action. It's got to move a little bit faster.
Right.
That could be
Well,
part of it.
with I was looking at some of the audience reviews for this, and I got a little tickled by people complaining that this was an audio drama, not an audio book. And I was thinking to myself, did you not listen to the sample?
Hmm.
Did you not? It's very clear it's an audio drama, not an audio book. But as I'm listening through this, and because I was reading along with the comic, my proofer brain could not be turned off, and I was noticing
Mm-mm.
mistakes, and I wrote them all down.
Oh no, you need to send it to Neil Gaiman right
I know,
now.
I know. It's like, look, some things were changed, and I could see why they were changed, and I did not consider that an actual um, misread, but there were some very clear misreads, and I was thinking to myself, how did they miss that? I don't
Fired.
understand.
They're fired.
They need to hire me.
They do.
I'll find them all. No, I'm teasing. Stuff slips by me too, but still, that kind of got on my nerves. But I think I would not have ever noticed that.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple I would have, because you could tell it was just not grammatically right what they said, because they had actually misread.
Hmm.
But I think it was really only because I was reading along with it. Have you ever read The Sandman, the original comic?
Nope.
You should go check out that link I sent
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Look at the artwork and everything.
I will not. I mean, just looking through a little bit of it, I'm intrigued because the artwork is pretty cool. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Todd McFarlane a little bit.
See, I don't think I've ever looked at Todd McFarlane's stuff. As far as I know of his toys, but I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah.
his stuff. Todd McFarlane, I don't think he likes, I think Matt told me that, or maybe it was Tim, I can't remember, that he doesn't like to do the artwork. He doesn't like it particularly.
Oh, he doesn't like drawing.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
It's
I've never heard that from him. He's fucking great at it, and he was a pioneer in this field.
I couldn't tell you what is a McFarlane piece, except for maybe the
I'd be
toys.
able to. If you were to point to like some, and you're like, which one's Todd McFarlane? I think 4 out of 5 times I'd get it
You
right.
could pick it out. Okay.
Yeah,
All
it's very
right.
distinct. Very distinct.
Um.
He got famous doing Spider-Man,
Okay.
and then he wasn't happy with the deal Marvel was giving him, so he split off. He started Image Comics.
Right.
He started Spawn, and he
Yep.
became a fucking legend.
Yes.
Like, like there's almost no one in the comic book world, or in the action figures world, or in the board games world who doesn't know who Todd McFarlane is. He's actually a big inspiration for me.
I don't know if you watched the interview that I did with Matt, but
Not know.
one of the people that he works with, or worked with, used to work with Todd McFarlane.
Oh, really?
It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's a lot like us, right? Like, okay, this big corporation doesn't appreciate what I'm doing.
Right. I'm going to do my own thing.
Do my own thing.
He has said that his preference to create yeah, this is okay. Yeah, he said that's what I'm. He doesn't necessarily like the drawing. He likes to create.
Yeah, he wants to make another Spawn movie. He wants to make another Spawn movie, but he wants to direct it.
Oh,
yeah, and I think that's interesting. Now, there's most people hear that they'll say, oh, "Come on, you're a comic book artist. How do you know?"
Has he ever directed anything?
No, he's never directed a movie, but he's humble about it. He says, "Look, I want to direct it, and it's not because I think I'm a great director. I just want to make sure that the vision that I have in my mind is going to take place.
Right,
and the way that I would do that is surround myself with all the people that I know are the best professionals in their particular category.
Right.
And I'm going to ask them, okay, I have this idea. How can we do it? And in that sense, he would be a director in that he would just be getting the team together and help collaboration actually happen. So he wants it to be a horror movie instead of an action movie, which totally makes sense if you've ever read the comic.
Yeah, I mean, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it is
pretty so
rooted in horror.
So he's an entrepreneur, and it's nothing to do with his ego. He just wants to make the story right,
Mm-hmm.
and he recognizes that he doesn't have the skill set needed in order to do it, but he doesn't want to put it in the hands of somebody else who's going to take it in a direction he doesn't want it to go.
Right. Yeah.
So he wants to be the director. He just puts the right people in front of him to make, all the small, all the component decisions. I mean, I think he's a smart guy and he'll be able to do it. Here's the thing about being a comic book artist. Like, that's basically the same thing, pretty close to being the same thing as someone who does storyboards. And, and storyboarding is like one huge part of the director's skill.
Yeah.
Is like being able to at least throw together a storyboard in order to share your vision with other people. So, I mean, if he can do that, which he basically already has with all his comic books, like he can just take frames, slap them together,
right.
And say, okay, this is what I want, people. So I don't see why it wouldn't, and want Spawn to be a looming presence in the shadows rather than a front and center superhero. Yes,
which I could see
that's how the fucking book was. That's how the comic was. Like, it was there was a surprisingly small amount of Spawn in Spawn, because
I've never read Spawn.
It would be
know of it.
It'd be like cops talking about shit he did, or other homeless people in his alley talking about things, telling stories, or the bad guy advancing the plot. In a lot of ways, he wasn't even the protagonist. It was all the villains that would be protagonists, and then he would come from out of the shadows to stop them. So yeah, it makes total sense that he wouldn't be front and center. It would be someone else driving the plot, and then him coming in as a major element to change things around.
Did he have a hand in the animated Spawn?
Yes, and the animated Spawn is fucking good.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw both Spawns, the movie and the animated one. And the animated one is definitely very, very gritty and dark.
And way better.
Yeah.
Like, you can just forget that the movie was even made.
Right.
I gotta be honest, like, I thought that the performances were good. You know, I don't know, maybe not Leguizamo so much, just because I don't know. It's not that bad. It's actually more the makeup that didn't work for me.
I think he's
Oh,
talking about the animated. That was the only version that he liked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the animated version is just so much better. Just don't
Yeah.
even bother with the Hollywood film. HBO, that's right. Yeah,
What, the movie or the animated?
the animated series.
Gosh, I saw the animated one years and years ago, and it was on VHS, and I don't even remember if we have it anymore.
Hmm.
But I remember that I did watch it.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, yeah. I'm. All that being said, I honestly can't think of that many other flaws with Sandman. I was pleasantly surprised by it, but I shouldn't have been because I had such a good time with Neverwhere. I'm gonna keep listening to more Dirk Mag stuff because I think he's got the best mix I've heard as far as like how much sound effects to use, how to use them, and casting. His casting is top notch,
Oh yeah,
and
I thought I just
it's kind of like because he just has his own team. He's got a team like regular people that he goes to. So
well, this cast was huge, and I felt like everyone did a very very good job, and I was super impressed with the whole thing. So super impressed with, like I said, audio dramas are not my thing, but I forced myself to consume this one in preparation for this discussion, and it
mhm,
was not a miserable experience. I'll say that
right.
much.
So by the way, we've already done a listening party with Deep Madness.
Yeah.
And how did you find that experience
I
in
thought it was
comparison?
I thought it was good, but Deep Madness was not. Wait, you wasn't that also an audiobook too? Didn't you do an
Yeah,
audiobook version
yeah.
of
There's an
that? Is
audiobook version of it,
Okay.
and
Okay.
so what we're doing, what Sound Booth Theater is doing with their deep dives, is they're not quite audio dramas. Like that's the thing. That's another reason that I wanted to make a distinction by calling them deep dives, is because
Right.
I think that there's probably a core contingent of the audio drama community, producer community or listener community that sees audiobooks with a lot of sound effects as not an audio drama because there's just too much narration.
I see.
And
Yeah.
I think that's fair, right? Like it's fair to delineate your, definition of things. That's why that's another reason why I wanted to come up with a different word for it. But um I think there's something to be said though about having an audiobook having more narration. And number one,
Mhm.
it takes some of the production cost away.
That's true.
Number two, it's something like what you said that when you're doing other stuff, when you're trying to do mindless activities, um, the narrative is like the actual narration is going to hold your attention better and
Right.
help you conceive of exactly what's going on better.
It keeps you
Uh,
more anchored in the story
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Even if the sound effects producers do a really great job, it's still what's the word? It's still something you just have to focus
Focus
on,
on. Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the narration will kind of do the work for you.
Yeah.
It'll keep a pace, it'll keep this constant voice in your head, laying the steps out right in front of you as you're going.
Painting the picture for you.
Conversations have that same pull. When two characters are just going back and forth, that's much easier to follow than like listening to sound effects and trying to guess what's happening,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's more what we do, right? We have more narration. We don't have nearly as many sound effects as are in Sandman, right? I
That's
mean,
true. Yeah.
although actually, I don't know, maybe 75%, 70%
I
of that
mean, it was a whole
in,
bunch.
in Deep Madness.
Yeah.
Like Deep Madness is dense with sound effects. It's like
Yeah, it
maybe
is.
the densest thing we've done.
Is
So
Kringle Down more? Oh, so not even as much as Kringle Down?
Kringle Down is probably on the same level
Now, is
as.
Kringle Down a full-on audio drama, or is it more like deep dive, like what you're?
Yeah, it's full sound effects and music. No, it's just me doing voices. But you know how I is. I can make it
I
sound
know
like
how you is.
I know how to make it sound like a full cast.
Yes, you
Um,
do. All these
and
actors you get.
yes, and Harlan Guthrie did just such an amazing job on it, like with the sound effects
Yeah, like
on
this.
that as well.
So this what he
I
our
did hear. I
Wilhelm
think I did
scream.
hear a Wilhelm scream in there somewhere.
But I think to me the point to me so okay so sometimes if you don't have the characters of the voices of the characters cemented in your head, if they're not distinct enough when you hear them making noise or them talking, you may not know exactly what character it is. So that's
Mhm,
why the narration helps to remind you who's actually talking. And see, this is
mhm,
another problem I had because I couldn't with that last chapter, because the last issue slash episode, because I couldn't follow along with the picture.
mhm,
I wasn't exactly sure who was talking. Only a few people in this last one had a distinct enough voice that I could actually tell who was speaking.
mhm.
You know, Puck, I could
Yeah,
tell,
sometimes it
and
was
the
sometimes.
child, I could tell, and what's her name? Oh my gosh, the wife from the fairy wife. What is the heck is her name? I know it if I hear it. She wanted to take the child.
I don't remember. I'm terrible with names.
The wife of
Oh.
Oberon. Oh, hold on. It's the name of, I think it's the same name as the critical drinker's wife, Tatiana.
Ah,
Yeah,
Tatiana.
I think that's the one. I could tell her voice because she was like one of the few women there. So, but other than that, and there'd be this gaggle of talking and stuff, and I was a little, I wasn't sure. Okay, who's talking, and this is annoying because I can't look at the picture and I can't tell who's speaking. So that's one thing about audio dramas too.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with that, mainly because I got the sense that it didn't matter. Um,
Yeah, I guess not.
it was a group of mythical characters talking to each other about a William Shakespeare play that was supposed to be written about them. So it was cool. I thought that last
You
one
like that?
was pretty interesting.
See, I can't stand Shakespeare, so maybe that's part of the reason why it just.
I'm ambivalent about Shakespeare.
I think he's
I
highly
respect what he's
overrated. I'm
done.
sorry.
I mean, he's got the OG status, and that just demands respect right there. But no, I just like the way it kind of circles everything back, and it's kind of thumbing its nose, like kind of comparing himself to Shakespeare in a way. Neil Gaiman is, you know,
Oh, yeah,
but that whole last chapter is all about ego.
yeah.
And,
I thought the kid was going to be stolen. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought they were going to take the child away, and then he was going to write a Hamlet because his child disappeared. But then they said that his child did die at 11, and I wonder if that was true. That his mother said he'll write a play about you when you die, or if you die, he'll write a play about you because he was kind of a little bit distant from his son.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyway, well, I don't know if you want to try to wrap this up because we have to get ready for our thing soon.
Right, we have to get ready for our party.
So
I'm so looking
I
forward to
need
it.
to eat some supper before
Yeah.
we do that.
So yeah, not much else to say. I wouldn't mind doing another one of these sometime
Yeah, it was fun.
about another audio drama. If you want to, we can stick to Neil Gaiman and Dirk Maggs. If you want to, we can try something else. Um, Up to you.
I'm trying to think of some really good. Would it be audible audio dramas, or did you want to go the route of graphic audio?
It doesn't matter. Whatever you may be interested in.
All right, I have to think about it. I have to see.
Yeah. So in conclusion, I would give Sandman a 9.5 out of 10.
Oh, dang! You
as
really
an
did
audio
like it, didn't you?
drama. Yeah, I actually use the 10s, unlike
You
some of the
don't. You
years.
don't use
I
it.
do. I do
Oh,
use
you
them.
do. What would you
Um,
give a 10?
Probably Neverwhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, glad you enjoyed it, Gene. I feel like we just kind of went sort of all over the place and didn't really have a clear focus, but that's just the way these discussions go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not real good at, you know, sticking to certain scripts and stuff. But so you say Neverwhere. Is that Neverwhere it's called or Never?
Neverwhere, and
What's
that's
it
Neil
about?
Gaiman, Dirk Maggs. It's just this kind of underground fantasy but buddy story.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of I don't know. It's been a long time. I'd like to listen to it again. That's why I brought
Well,
it again. But this it's much older, right? It's came out 12, 13 years ago, I think. So
well, I mean, if you want, we could make that the next one.
okay,
Neverwhere. Was
yeah,
that also a novel or was it?
yep,
So
yep.
did they make a regular audiobook of it or only an audio drama?
They have both.
They have both.
Yep.
But you want to focus on the audio drama stuff.
Well, I mean, that's what I would want to listen to. But
Okay.
I wouldn't bitch about listening to a Neil Gaiman narrated audiobook because he's a great
No,
narrator.
he is a phenomenal narrator.
Yeah.
I can't get over how good he sounds because most authors they can't pull it off.
Yep.
Um,
Um,
but some of them are
yeah,
really good.
Neverwhere has James McAvoy as well.
Oh, here we go.
Yep.
That's right. It's James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Maybe I will just go ahead and get the audio drama if he's involved.
Yeah, and it's not even 4 hours long.
Yeah, I saw it's really short, so it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that hard to get through. But there's no visual to anchor me to the story, so I almost wonder if I should listen to the actual story, or if it would be more important to experience the audio drama, and then maybe listen to the story.
Um, I would just, I wouldn't even bother with the audiobook myself personally,
Okay.
just because I love this production so much.
Okay. All right.
And like I don't know, I'm not the kind of person who's particularly concerned about like I'm pretty sure that the dramatization, for instance, is abridged and there's some stuff pulled out
Because it
of
seems really
it.
short for an audio drama.
Yeah, so I mean,
Well, maybe
who
not.
knows what info is pulled out of it, but I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't care about that stuff. What I want is the best entertainment possible.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to be looking for.
All right. So if you still haven't seen it, check out McAvoy in the movie. Oh yeah, no, I've seen that, and he was absolutely excellent in that movie.
I still haven't seen it. I want to though.
Oh,
What?
Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were gasping at another comment.
No, at you. Like
Nope.
what?
Still haven't seen it.
You've
I'll
got
get
to, if only to experience his performances as these different split
right.
personalities. He's so good in there, especially when
I'm
he does
sure.
the little kid. He's so
I'm sure.
funny.
He's brilliant.
He is brilliant.
They couldn't have picked a better Professor X. He looks a
Oh, he's perfect.
lot like Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
So
he's perfect. I've always thought he was an excellent casting choice for that role. So
okay, so we won't make a schedule for that particular audio drama because we got the holidays coming up. And
yeah, we got the holidays coming up,
have a
and I
lot of
need to get myself a hi, Sin. Just stopped by to wish you
luck,
well
probably.
luck. Thank you, Shane. The stream is about done.
Yeah,
Shane is from oh geez, he's from Ireland, I think.
Oh yeah.
So I think he's from I get Ireland and Scotland mixed up, but I think it's Ireland. I'm pretty sure because there's people from all over the world that tell me where they're from, and
Ireland.
yeah, thank you. I'm sorry if I made any sort of offense by getting your potential home country incorrect. Anyway, so okay,
Yeah.
well, I guess we can
Cool.
We can wrap this
We'll,
up and
we'll wrap it up, and
yep.
we'll schedule another one sometime. I don't know, maybe in January.
Yeah, that sounds like
Good.
fun. Let me get my hands on the copy first.
Okay.
And then we can figure out when's a good time. I've got different interviews lined up the next few weeks. So,
Great.
going to do
Okay.
that. That takes a bit to edit. So,
All right, I'm going to do my shameless self-promotion. Go to soundbooththeater.com,
yes.
pick up Kringle Down.
Yeah, Kringle Down. I'm looking
Chris-
forward to that.
Christmas audio or Christmas deep dive. It's just $3, not even 2 hours long. Make sure that only demented children are around to hear it if you listen to it with your family.
Let me put soundbooththeater.com in the chat. And I did not proof this, so I'm going into this thing completely blind, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we can even discuss this one as a little appetizer for the next stream if you want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, that sounds like fun.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Thanks, and I'll see you here in a second.
Thanks, Jeff. It was fun, and I'll see you in. We got a little bit more than 30 minutes. I'm gonna go grab some supper. So goodbye, everybody. Thank you to everybody who showed up and commented. Appreciate it so much. And hopefully you can join us for the next one. Whenever we get it scheduled, I'll announce it. So adios.